Hey, welcome back to another episode of 2022 Giants training camp preview. And today we're going to talk about the wide receivers. So kick back, relax, because we got a lot of wide receivers to talk about in this video. So get your popcorn, get your drink, and enjoy this video with me. Let's get it. Welcome to Big Pat Sports Talk. Once again, it's your boy back, Big Pat Sports Talk 2022 Giants training camp preview, and we gonna be talking about those wide receivers, those guys that get the ball in the end zone for the offense. And we're gonna talk about a lot of wide receivers in this video. So shout out to Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook. Almost got 1,000 followers on Twitter. Thank you guys. Almost at 2,000 here on YouTube. Thank you guys. Big Blue Crew, we in the building. So let's get to talking about these wide receivers. I think we can be very explosive, guys. As you can see, some of the guys that I have here on the screen. We got Riggs, aka Sterling Shepard, Wan'Dale Robinson, Swiss Army Knife, Kenny Golladay, big man on the outside, and Kadarius Tony, the Joker, the absolute monster of this offense. If he's healthy, he can definitely get the job done for us. I believe we have so much versatility with our receivers this year. I believe we have so much explosiveness with our receivers this year. And being healthy and in a scheme that utilizes motion, allows the quarterback to see what the defense is doing. Only really great defenses can hide their defense to the very last second. But if we run motion with these receivers and get these guys to show their coverages, whether they're in cover 3 or cover 2 man, or a Tampa 2 or cover 4, or have man with zones on the outside, have man in a slot zone on the outside, or they're in a cover 1 where they're bringing a safety down, they show it. Or they have a safety coming down to guard the tight end because they're running man-to-man across the board and they're bringing a blitz. Those things help out the quarterback to be a better quarterback. Those things will help out Daniel Jones start as a quarterback. So, be a better starting quarterback. So, I got to see what this offense can do. But as far as the training camp battles, let's look at the plethora of receivers that we have in training camp coming in 2022. Let's head to the media room. Now, as you can see, we have receivers out the wazoo. Like, this is the most receivers I've seen we had in a long time. We're going to go through all of them. Kenny Golladay. We all know that he's the starter at the left wide receiver. He's slated to be the starter outside. Kadarius Tony is slated to be the starter on the other outside. And our slot receiver is slated to be Sterling Shepard. Backed up by C.J. Board. Kenny Golladay is going to be backed up by C.J. Board, Colin Johnson, and Travis Tovian. Tony's going to be backed up by Richie James, Darius Slayton, Keelan Doss, Robert Foster. Riggs, Sterling Shepard is going to be backed up by Wan'Dale Robinson, David Sills, Alex Bachman, Austin Pro. Now that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 receivers. Now we're only going to probably hold on to about 7 receivers. So The receivers, I'm going to give you the guys that I think that's going to make the squad. And I'm going to give you the reasons why. Kenny Golladay, Kadarius Tony, Sterling Shepard, and Wan'Dale Robinson are going to make the squad. Now, the hardest thing that's going to be decided, what if Robert Foster proves that he could be a very good receiver? They like David Sills. Richie James, I believe, is going to make the squad because I believe he's going to be our kick returner or the punt returner. C.J. Board might make the squad because he's a very good punt returner. Colin Johnson, 6'6", very good mismatch. He has decent speed. Darius Slayton, one of the fastest guys in the NFL. Keelan Dawes, they brought him over for competition. Travis Tovian, he's shown things in previous preseasons. Alex Bachman, been one of our preseason stars every year. And Austin Pro, that's Ricky Pro's son, we'll see what he can do. But the guys that I think they will cut, I believe they will cut Travis Tovian. Alex Bachman will probably go to the practice squad. They will cut Austin Pro. I think they cut Colin Johnson. David Sills might make the practice squad. They cut Keelan Dawes. And I think Robert Foster and Darius Slayton are going to fight for one of the last receiver spots on this team. Reason why: Robert Foster brings speed. He also brings good route running as well. And he just brings health. After he had that injury scare, he's been healthy, and he's very, very familiar with Brian Daboll over there in Buffalo. Darius Slayton had a very good rookie year, shined for us, but tailed off the last 2 years. He's been injured, and he's had a case of the dropsies, one of the worst cases in the league, if not the worst case in the league. I think he was even worse than Evan Ingram, and that's pretty bad. C.J. Board, special teams. Him and Richie James, special teams. I think they make this squad off special teams alone. And I think that cancels out Travis Tovian and Alex Bachman. So that's why I think those guys are not going to make it. David Sills has some height to him. He has some route running to him, but he's going to have to prove that he can make this squad to be an NFL pro. He's probably going to be fighting with Slayton, Foster, and Foster, Slayton for that last receiver spot. But just to talk about our receivers in general, Kenny Golladay. Let's talk about the enigma of Kenny Golladay, man. He had a very disappointing first season with us. Only got 74 targets. I think he only had like 40 catches or 50 catches for only like 500 yards or 6. I don't know how many yards he had. It was just very disappointing. And a lot of people don't like him. A lot of people say he's overpaid because he's making $18 million. And now, if he turns out to be a number one receiver, that's one of the biggest bargains in the NFL because number one receivers are getting almost $30 million now. That just proves how a year or two can change the market on you. I think he does well with us. I say it either goes really bad or it goes really good with Kenny Golladay. The reason why I say this is it depends on the system that we're running. Are we going to be running a system that's going to be like the Autobahn, trying to get a lot of people in the middle of the field to break tackles and get a lot of yards after the catch? Are we going to be running a system like that, or are we going to be running a system where we try to get the ball to the outside receiver and just keep the chains moving? Because if we run that first scheme that I was talking about, Kenny Golladay really doesn't fit that scheme. He's not a great route runner. He's a great 50-50 ball receiver that can use his big body to maneuver himself to block out a defender from getting his hands on the ball, and he brings it down like a basketball player. But does that role really fit what Kafka does as far as the receiving calls on the offense? How many times did you see a big body receiver just block out somebody all day and catch the ball 50-50 balls in the Chiefs offense? Hell, in the Bills offense, did you see that a lot? Gabriel Davis is a bigger receiver, but he's a great route runner and has deceptive speed, and he was getting a lot of catches in the middle of the field on streak routes and seam routes because people like Stephon Diggs, who I think Kadarius Tony can mimic. and I mean absolutely mimic, and probably could be better. He was opening up a lot of things on the outside, and even Stephon Diggs was a 50-50 catch ball guy like that. He was a route runner as well, and he was just routing people up on the outside. So does Kenny Golladay really fit that style of play? We're going to have to see. Are they going to adjust to Kenny Galladay's style of play, or are we going to use Kenny Golladay more in the red zone? I have to see what we do with Kenny Golladay. He's a good receiver. I'm not saying that he's going to be trash or sorry for us. I really think he could be a good receiver. But let's see if he could play more like that Gabriel Davis role for us, or do they carve out something specifically for Kenny Golladay? I'm gonna sit back and watch that, man, because he's a good receiver, man. I know a lot of people hate him. I know a lot of people say he's trash. I know a lot of people say he's overpaid. I know a lot of people say he gave up. But I think a lot of people gave up on Joe Judge and Jason Garrett last year. And he had issues from the very first game. So let's see if he has a change of heart this year with the Giants. I mean, it's a new culture, it's a new coach, new offensive coordinator, new scheme, new everything. So let's see what he does. Now let's get to the other starting receiver who will be on the outside this year. They said that. Kadarius Tony. And they're going to move him all over the field. He's not just going to be exclusively on the outside. But when they bring in Wan'Dale Robinson, I think he's going to move to the outside. And I think he could be an absolute dynamo on the outside. Reason why? I would have Kadarius Tony watch film of Stephon Diggs. And I know it's gonna be cliche. Oh yeah, you're gonna say you watch Stephon Diggs because he's with Buffalo. That's partially true, but I think that's the type of receiver that guy could be. I want him to watch film of Juice Landry, and I want him to watch film of Stephon Diggs. And my guy over there with the Panthers. Oh, I forget his name. Moore. That's the type of receiver Kadarius Tony could be, and more. He's more elusive. He's faster. He's more twitchy. And he showed that he could go up and get the ball when need be. If you get his route running on par with those guys, Kadarius Tony could be one of the top receivers in this league for a long time. On the outside, on the inside, on the slot, running back, it don't matter. That guy is that type of talent. I've seen him at Florida, and if he gets his route running on par with those top guys like that, the sky's the limit for Kadarius Tony. Just going to be honest with you. If that dude gets his route running as crisp as Stephon Diggs and Moore and another guy, Terry McLaurin, Scary Terry over there with the Washington Commanders. If he can turn into a route running like those guys, the sky's the limit for Kadarius Tony because he's more talented. Like I said, he's more shifty. He's faster. He has the same type height. And that dude's just a beast, man. So hopefully he stays healthy the whole year. I'm looking for Kadarius Tony to be the first 100-catch receiver for the Giants in a very long time. I think since Steve Smith back in the day. Because I think Odell Beckham only got to 91. So I think Kadarius Tony has the ability to be the first 100-catch receiver for the Giants in a long, long time. I think I might do a video on that. But let's move on. Mr. Sterling Shepard slated to start in the slot for us. Riggs. He may be ready for the start of the season. If not, Wan'Dale Robinson's going to come in that spot. But Riggs, we need you healthy, brother. Can we get a healthy Riggs this year? If we got a healthy Riggs this year, not only will he be the absolute leader of this receiving corps, he's a leader on this team. He's a captain on this team. People love this guy. It's the reason why he's still a Giant. It's the reason why he's still a Giant, man. Because if he was not a very good teammate, there would be no reason to keep him on this team. Point blank period. There'd be no reason to keep him on this team, man. But take Kadarius Tony and Wan'Dale Robinson to route running school. Take those two to route running school, because I forgot Sterling Shepard's a hell of a route runner himself when he's healthy. Take them to route running school. during training camp. Get on those two guys and make them run the routes that you run. And make them run them better than you can because they're actually more athletic and they're more twitchy. Be that leader on this team and be a leader of this team on the field. That's where we need you, Shep. Because a lot of people forget when Shep was healthy in the beginning of the season, Daniel Jones was throwing it to him constantly because Shep wanted it. I don't care what nobody says. I said a lot of things about Riggs myself. We came up with Riggs because he's always hurt. But if you real with yourself and you watch the Giants games like I did, shout out to Classified 3F with Joe, shout out to G Nation. We watched every game. In the beginning of the season, that man was balling. He was the only guy that Daniel Jones had any rapport with. So if we can get that and have Kadarius Tony out there, have Kenny Golladay out there, sky's the limit for this offense with a better offensive line. So Shep, you can play a very important part of this receiving core this year. Leadership-wise and on the field. Just get on the field. That's what we want to see you. That's where we want to see you, Shep. Just get on the field, bro. Because when you're on the field, you make plays. When you're on the field, you get people hyped. When you're on the field, you make people feel like, hey, let's go get this. When you're on the field, you show it. You're not just barking. You go out there and show it. You take those hits across the middle. You go across the middle, make people miss. You actually put up touchdowns when you're in the game. Get in the game. EA Sports, man, get in the game, bro. That's where we need you. Wan'Dale Robinson. I think he has a very good rookie season. I believe we're going to play him all over the field. I believe we're going to play him in the slot. We're going to play him outside. We're going to play him in the running back position, H-back position. Wan'Dale Robinson is going to be an absolute weapon for us. And he might get some punt return and kick return duties as well. I'm looking for Wan'Dale Robinson to have a 45 to 50 catch rookie season. And I'm looking for him to get those quick screens and turn it into first downs. I'm looking for Wan'Dale Robinson to be that guy to move the chains for us. Move those chains, Wan'Dale. I can't say enough about the guy. A lot of people want to make fun of his height. He's only 5'8", 5'7", whatever. There's a lot of Hall of Famers that are only 5'8", 5'9", 5'10". So just it's not about the size of the dog. It's about the bark in the dog. And he has a lot of bark, and he has a lot of heart, and he has a lot of skill. And he can be played in a lot of positions. Very versatile receiver, and I think he steps in for Sterling Shepard when he finally parts ways with us. Or if he gets hurt this year, we have somebody that can step into that role for Sterling Shepard because he's a dog as well. Mr. Richie James, we brought him over for special teams purposes, and he has some receiving ability as well. He's just like Sterling Shepard and Wan'Dale Robinson. So we have a lot of depth on this team at the receiver position, especially for the slot. Richie James, I'm not looking for him to make a huge impact. I'm looking for him to come in a couple of plays, probably get around 20 catches, maybe a touchdown or two. He slips in and slips behind the coverage to get a touchdown or two. But I'm excited to see what Richie James could do for us in a kick return game, to be honest with you. C.J. Board. I think we keep him because of special teams. He's one of the best gunners in the league, and he can do punt return, kick return as well. And he's actually filled in for receiving a little bit as well. He's made some nice plays. C.J. Board definitely going to be a part of this team. We need a guy like him on special teams, so he's going to make this roster. Colin Johnson, 6'6", 230, huge body, nice speed. Just got hurt, and he's just going to have to find his way to this roster. He's really going to have to impress Brian Daboll and Kafka to find his way on this roster because he's not an actual fit for the offenses that I've seen the Bills and Chiefs run. But, hey, look, he can prove me wrong and go out there and steal a job. Who knows? But he will be fighting for a position. He's going to have to fight hard. Darius Mr. Slayton, probably the fastest receiver on this team between him and Tony. He's going to have to fight for a position as well. And the thing that's working against him the most is that $2.5 million cap hit that he has. Are you willing to pay him $2.5 million to be a third string receiver? Because that's what they have him slotted as right now. Can he come in and be an outside receiver for us if we need him to be? Yes. But he has to fight. He has to fight himself, man. His confidence is way down. He has to stop the drops. He has to get his route running on par. And he just has to be a pro again, man. Unfortunately, you know, Joe Judge and Jason Garrett hurt a lot of people on his offense. And it's a shame because he had a very good rookie season, and him and Daniel Jones were building something. But who knows? He's definitely going to have to. He's definitely going to have to, man, prove himself this season to see if he stays on the roster. I think he gets a roster spot because he is a good veteran. But if that $2.5 million looks good enough to cut, they're going to cut him. So who knows? Right now, it's not looking good. They got him slated behind Richie James, which is bad. And he's had drops in training camp. He's made some good plays in training camp. Mini camp. So who knows? Travis Tovian, Keelan Doss, Alex Bachman, all those guys are going to be fighting for a roster spot, probably fighting for a spot on the practice squad. I don't see them making any impact in the regular season unless there's a lot of injuries, which we all don't want. But out of those three guys, if a guy makes the roster, it's going to be Alex Bachman in my mind. Keelan Doss is a very nice receiver. Travis Tovian, I don't know too much about him, but if one of those guys make the roster out of those three, it's probably going to be Alex Bachman. And then we got Robert Foster and Austin Pro. Robert Foster has a chance to make this roster, but he's definitely going to have to show up and show out. And I mean show up and have like a 100-yard game in preseason to see if he can make this roster over a Darius Slayton, Richie James, over a CJ Board, a Colin Johnson. He has a huge road to go. Maybe he gets on the practice squad. Who knows? Austin Pro, dad was in the league. I just don't see him making this roster at all. And lastly, David Seals. David Seals is an enigma. I like David Seals as a player. I believe he's the Jordy Nelson type, and that type of receiver is very, very dangerous. That's a dangerous guy. If he can show that he can take on a role on the outside and be that big receiver on the outside, I look for him to push Colin Johnson off this roster, Foster, Dawes, Tovian, Austin Pro, and he may be able to push Richie James off this roster and make this roster to be an extra outside receiver on this team. So David Seals, he has to go out there and prove that he can be healthy because he's been hurt a lot. And he's going to have to go out there and prove that he could be the outside receiver. So when he gets those snaps in the third quarter and the fourth quarter as the number one receiver, because he's going to get some snaps as the number one receiver on the outside, him and Colin Johnson. And those two are really going to fight each other for a roster spot. Man, this training camp with the receivers is going to be absolutely dynamite. And this preseason with these receivers is going to be dynamite. I cannot wait to see these guys go at it, fight for a roster position. But I see we keep 7 receivers, and the 7 I think we're going to keep is Golladay, Tony, Riggs, a.k.a. Sterling Shepard, Robinson, Richie James, CJ Board. And I got Slayton making this team. And then the practice squad, I've got Seals, Bachman, and Foster on the practice squad. But these guys, that's why we have training camp. That's why we have preseason. All this may change. Hell, you might see even Richie James get cut. You might see Slayton get cut. You might see CJ Board get cut. So my word isn't final, but that's just my prediction for these receivers coming up this year, that we're going to go with the 53, and I think we're going to keep about 3 or 4 receivers on the practice squad. So can't wait to see these guys get it in, man. But that's my prediction for the receivers coming up, and my training camp preview for the receivers coming up this 2022 year. Can't wait to see these guys. Can't wait to see explosiveness. I can't wait to see motion. I can't wait to see Kadarius Tony on the outside routing people up. I can't wait to see Wan'Dale Robinson showing people and proving people wrong. Just because he's short doesn't mean he can't have a big game. Can't wait to see Riggs come out on the field and stay a full season, hopefully. Kenny Golladay. I can't wait to see what they come up with you, because you are a good receiver. You just have to be used correctly. But that's my time here, man. Thank you guys for watching. If you're still watching, hit that like and subscribe button. Comment. Let me know who you think makes the squad out of the roster of receivers that I showed you. Let me know if you think I'm crazy with the guys that I picked to make the team in the practice squad. Let me know, man. Love your comments. I always respond to your comments. Thank you guys so much for almost getting me to 2,000 subscribers here on YouTube, and we're only like 30 away from 1,000 on Twitter, man. This has been great. I'd like to thank you guys for tuning in. But also, if you want to support the channel more, go ahead and hit that blue join button in the description and talk your talk with Big Pack Sports Talk and join the Big Blue crew, because you know I'm going to talk my talk no matter what you thought. But until the next episode of Giants Training Camp Preview, this has been the Wide Receivers. Peace. This has been a Big Blue Crew production.